Linda, you're going out. 22nd floor. You put my seat back to try it out because it works pretty good. It's gross. I know. I said, you know what? You're about ready to lose your room privileges. I got one. He goes, what, are you going to kick me out? I go, no, I'm going to throw you out the window. I'm going to go, I tried to talk him off the ledge, but he wouldn't listen. Off you went.
Should we stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She'll be back. We're so proud to have Brian Smith and your factory down from Springfield, Illinois. Very much. It's a long drive, but you're thank you. And I'm Terry Bones Allen. Very much yourself with us all in office. Okay. Very
Happy Bullshit.
Jerry Crabtree, COI.
Brandon Royer,
Township Trustee. Derek Cox, Trustee.
And
Jack Doherty, Township Attorney.
Dan Hopkins, trustee.
Michael Holt, Township Trustee. It's so wonderful you guys come down. Yeah, give us any new thoughts with the township government, or whatever, or any questions everybody's going to ask, or anybody's going to ask. Go ahead, it's 2 1 to go. We can have a roll call.
Trustee Cox.
Here.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Hopkins.
Here.
Trustee Royer. Supervisor.
Here. Good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for inviting myself and Jerry here this morning. I have to say, I think I know all of you. A couple of you are new, but I know the rest of you for many years. But I will have to give kudos to your supervisor, whom I've known since 1985. I don't think there has been anyone that I know of in this part of the state or this county that has been more supportive of our organization through the years. We've had a lot of meetings over at the old Holiday Inn, Doubletree, and different places. Paul Green would come down, and we had big meetings. But
our road commissioner, Larry Connell, he's been with us the same amount of time.
And Larry's been right there the whole time, and I've dealt with both of you. But I want to thank all of you for your service, not only to Collinsville Township, but the township government in general. Your association is who I work for. I work for you. We're an association that is based out of Springfield, Illinois. We have been in existence since 1907, and we have really, in my mind, 3 major functions. And that is education for township officials, lobbying for township officials, and promotion of township government, what you and the township do throughout the state. It's been a very difficult time. I think Jerry, we were talking beforehand with a couple of you. It's been a very difficult time. I'm not trying to stand in front of you. But it's been a difficult time in Springfield the last few years. Things have changed a lot, and we're seeing it happen throughout the state. Townships and township officials have come under fire. A lot of it, in my own mind, has been brought on by a lack of understanding. There have been members of the public who don't understand what a township or what a township official does. But we've also had township officials who don't know what they're doing and do it wrong and get in trouble. And that's not right. And that's why I always say an educated township official is the best township official. I don't like to say that we have to have mandated training. I know assessors have mandated training. Your responsibilities are a little bit different and technical. But it's important, in my mind, that each one of you in this room that are elected township officials, and even attorneys, know exactly what your roles and responsibilities are as a township official. Now, many of you probably have the Laws and Duties Handbook, the Orange Book. How many of the trustees have this Trustees Handbook? If you haven't, you should have it. I'm going to leave this with you. You can have this, but the Trustees Division has those. If your township has paid your Trustees Division dues, you should get those. Just let me know if you want more. I'll send them to you. No problem. But that is a very useful guide, along with our Guide and Duties book, that helps you understand your roles and your responsibilities as a township official. I don't know if you've seen this booklet before. This is something we give out every 4 years when we have newly elected officials come on board, and even veterans. But it just kind of gives a brief synopsis of the individual positions within township government and what their general roles and responsibilities are. I'll just leave this with you. You're free to take a look at it and keep it. But it's important that you take a look at these books, attend the programs, not only that we offer, there's other groups and organizations that provide excellent opportunities for local government officials out there. But I want you to think very strongly about this. It's important you know your roles and responsibilities, but it's also important that you know your limits. And the reason I say that, there's a creed out there. It's called Dillon's Rule. How many of you have heard that? Attorney, have you heard of Dillon's Rule? Dillon was a Supreme Court justice years ago, and he came up with this saying, and it has been held for many years. We have it in our Laws and Duties Handbook, but local government, township officials only have those powers specifically granted by law. So if the law says that you can clear roads of snow, you can do it. But if it says you can pave the streets with gold, it doesn't say that. You can't do that. So you can only do what statutes allow you to do. But in township government, there's a wide variety of things that you can do. And I know we were talking briefly before the meeting started. You have a senior center, apparently. Very important aspect and very important niche that township government fills in the state of Illinois is providing programs and opportunities for senior citizens. But we have not only that, we have townships throughout the state who provide programs for young people, the disabled, educational programs helping school children. There are just a wide variety of programs and services that townships can be involved in that are allowed by statute. I would encourage you, and I have no clue as to what individual programs your township is involved with, but I know in this part of the state, close to the Missouri border, there's a lot of needs. It's a populated area. It's becoming more and more populated. It's kind of a bedroom community for St. Louis and different areas. There's a lot of needs here, and it's good that your township officials can work and provide some programs and necessary assistance to those who need it. But I don't know exactly what you thought I might say. I'm going to say a few other remarks and then just kind of open up the floor, and even Gary'd like to say something too. But each of you, I'm saying each of the elected officials, were elected to perform a specific duty. And probably know what but I'm going to address most of my comments to the board as a whole. The supervisor, the clerk, and the board trustees make up the township board. And as you know, all of them except the clerk are voting members of the board. And you'll find in that trustees manual, you'll find in our guide and duties book, what exactly is the responsibility of the township board when it comes to the operations of the other officers. First and foremost, the township board sets policies and procedures for the township, not for the highway commissioner, not for the assessor, but for the township. Now, there's some exception to that too. The supervisor, in his or her role, is the administrator of the general assistance program, and he or she is the administrator of that and oversees it and handles it the way that they feel the program should be run according to statute. I don't know how many of you are familiar with General Assistance. I had this in my file, and I thought it was very good. But General Assistance really, in my mind, a big safety net for those in communities who are on their last leg and have nothing left. I'm going to read some of this to you. I don't want to sound like I'm reading directly off here, but I found this. I had this in my files from years ago. It's so good, though. But it says General Assistance is a welfare program like the ones offered by the Illinois Department of Human Services. It gives you money or other financial help and medical assistance if you have no other income. It's run by the township. Illinois law requires and creates a general assistance program, and it gives some general rules for that program. But each township in the state of Illinois is required to provide general assistance, and you are required to adopt guidelines for administering the general assistance program that you have. Now, I'm assuming that you have a general assistance manual, handbook, that you have adopted guidelines and rules for administering your general assistance program. And that's how it should be run. And the reason that is so important is back in about the time I got started in township government in the early 80s, there were two class action lawsuits. They were called Rodriguez and Henson. And basically, these lawsuits were brought in the northern and in the southern part of the state because townships were not treating individuals the same when it came to applying and administering their general assistance program. So this lawsuit came about. There was a settlement, both north and south, that requires every township to have written guidelines for administering their general assistance program. They administer that according to those guidelines. The Township Supervisors Division of our organization came out last year with a new handbook. I don't know if you have that yet, or if you've adopted that. Those are the guidelines that you go by. But every township must have written guidelines, and they must administer it the same, whether it be Joe Smith that comes in for assistance or Brian Smith. They're going to be treated exactly the same. They're going to be administered and handled exactly the same. So that's a very important role when it comes to a township. The township board, in relation to not only the township general assistant, the supervisor, and general township business, but the assessor and the highway commissioner, the board's role is to, when we meet and see bills that are brought forward, your responsibility is to audit those bills. Now, years ago, up until 1977, township trustees were called township auditors. It's very appropriate because that, in my mind, is the trustees' most important role. We audit bills that are brought forward. Audit to make sure that they're within the budget that you have approved. To make sure that you have backup documentation or whatever expenditure it is, and that it is lawful. And when I say lawful, obviously if you see a bill that's for a trip to Las Vegas, you might want to question that. But unfortunately, we've had times, some townships not too far from here, where they didn't do that. The trustees didn't do that. And they didn't follow through on their obligations. You know what? I was the township clerk, then I was the township supervisor. And like anybody else, I enjoyed that role very much. But I encourage my trustees, if you ever have a question about any bill, ask it. It's not going to offend me because that's your responsibility and your role to ask the question. And we had a very great relationship in the boards that I worked with through the years because we operated under that. Anytime there was a question, we'll provide any answers and information. I did have an assessor one time, it was a little bit of a problem, but yeah. So, I think, in my mind, it's important that you know your rules, your roles, your responsibilities as township officials. I've heard nothing but good things through the years about Collinsville Township, and appreciate the opportunity to work with all of you, consider all of you friends, and hope that we can work together for many years to come. But with that, Jerry, if you would like to say anything, I will open it up for questions and be happy to answer anything you might have.
Well, I don't want to repeat what Brian said, but again, we appreciate the opportunity to come down to be part of this. And one of the things that I kind of do in our organization is the educational component. With my history in working in the state and now local government, one of the biggest issues that comes up is the fact that we are different, we're unique, we're not the same as county or municipal government. You know, there's 1,428 townships in the state of Illinois, and the 85 of 102 counties operate under that form of government. And there are specific guidelines and boards. One of the biggest issues that Brian and I deal with email and phone calls all day long is understanding your role and what you can and cannot do. And in the perfect world, everybody would get along, but then we have this political world on the other side of that. And but there are specific duties that you can do. But the main goal that we try to focus all of our education is that you learn how to work together within the guidelines of what your role is, because you're there with the electors that put you in that spot for the benefit of your community. So our educational programs are kind of built on that premise. We break down the budget process. We break down the board process. We break down every type of component that you do in your job, whether you're a trustee, supervisor, clerk. Our job, one of our wheels in our wheelhouse at the COI office, is to provide you access to the duties and responsibilities that you have to do to perform your job. Because I forgot to say that you get paid so much. Yeah. But but we're here. We answer questions all day long. As Brian, we cannot give you legal advice. We're not here to do that. What we do is we provide best practice interpretation. And if I can't get you the best practice interpretation, I got a list of lawyers I can have you call, or you have your own here. But we do our best to walk through. And some of the problems that come up are that people just are not clear on the boundaries and where the boundaries start and stop. So we're very pleased to be able to answer your questions. Yes.
I'll just say that my dealings since I've been a trustee in that. Brian and Jerry, you were very tremendous with answering questions. I've loved you guys every time. You do a conference, phone call, whatever, and stuff like that. But you also have a very good legal team. You've got a very good answering very, not that you can't answer my questions, but they do it. Send it out there really good.
One of the things that's unique,
Put it out there.
and I appreciate that. One of the things that's unique about working for Brian's board, we're a very small staff. There's 5 of us, and there's almost 11,000 elected township officials across the state. When a problem arises, they'll call me at 8 o'clock, and I'll get the trustee's viewpoint. They'll call him at 8:08 and give him the highway commissioner's view. But what we really are consistent about is that we talk through the walls of our offices that this is happening in this township right now. This is what I heard. This is what he hears. And we try to piece together what the real root of the problem is, because what he's taught me very well, we have to be consistent. And I have to give a trustee the same response that I'm going to give the highway commissioner or the assessor. And that's one of the benefits of us working so well together, is that we try to keep everybody on the same page. Because it's hard to believe that I would get a different interpretation from a trustee or from the supervisor, but over the years we've become very good at piecing together the root of the problem, because that's what we're trying to help you solve. Yeah, we try. Thank you. You guys are fantastic team. Make sure you tell my boss that.
Hey, Brian and Jerry, I'm going to introduce you to April Houseman. She's our new senior citizen.
I got a couple questions, I guess, and hopefully this will be helpful for the community here. But like what you're saying, best practice interpretation. I just jotted down 3 of the things that I feel that folks in the community have when they watch video or see what's going on now, they have the questions about, because I want everybody to like township government. and I think that's you guys, of course, do as well. But what is the best practice interpretation on, say, the general assistance? Because the problem we have here is over the last 2 years, over 80% of the money, all right, has not been spent on general assistance, all right, that we actually tax from the community. It's about $170,000. 80% of that, only 20%, around that number, that actually went to the general assistance. That is I used to do marketing, so that's a PR nightmare. But I'm saying for townships that only 20% goes to actually help people and 80% isn't. And so would you give us any advice on that? Maybe can we adopt new ways to get that money to people? I don't know. We're kind of in a bind.
Well,
Explain to them through the years, for the last few years, not you guys, but the higher ups stop things down on us too.
right. Well, through the years, general assistance has evolved in what I have seen. It's an unknown. You know, I live near Decatur, and if Caterpillar closes today, you know, there's going to be a lot of call for assistance and help through townships and the surrounding area where these people live, because they're going to need it. Right now, maybe they're not in that much demand because they don't have, maybe the economy hasn't turned sour or whatever, they have lost jobs. It's kind of cyclical. It happens from time to time. It's difficult in my mind for townships to judge how much they need to levy every year for that purpose, because it is an unknown. There's nothing wrong with having some backup there, but I think what you have to do, what the township has to do, is take a hard look at what you have, how they are, how many people are applying. I look at it like this: you don't close the firehouse just because there's no fire. And you know, maybe you have a general assistance program, and this year you're going to have 50 people come in and apply. How many of those people are going to be eligible? I don't know. You know, but they have to go through the exact vetting process for all those people. They have to go through, make sure they're eligible, make sure that they're not falsifying any documents, that these people are complying with everything that they need to do. And then the township determines whether or not they're eligible for assistance. You can't spend general assistance money outside. You know, you can't use it on roads or anything like that. So it's difficult for the township now. Your levy, when you do your levy, if you needed to cut back at general assistance, you could do that. Maybe move I don't know where you're at rate-wise.
Can I ask, can you once a year, and I don't know if this is more of a lawyer question, but can you take the general assistance and move that excess money one time a year ever? Can I ever move it?
The answer is no.
Right. So, because I'm all with helping people. Everybody is, you know, actually helping people. But sometimes what we've had is, if we had a landlord, if you look at the majority of where the money is helping people at, it's mostly all rent. All right, and it's only a couple of landlords in our area, and they've told me that they're getting ready to evict this person. It actually just made it harder on them to evict them, because there's basically 4 big landlords in our area, and you know, so that's where most of the money's going. But there's also, is there any rule that says you have to pay the person who runs that a certain amount? Or
It would be up to the supervisor.
And can it be somebody that's up on the rules and the laws, even almost on a volunteer base?
No, I'm not following you.
I guess my question is, part of the problem I see, they might disagree, I don't know. Part of the problem, I believe, is how this money, again, it looks bad, but the majority of it is all going to the administration costs. And just as a regular person, if I say, well, we're only giving out $20,000, can we work a deal somewhere where somebody manages that account? Why does it cost us $80,000 to give out $20,000? Do you see what I'm saying? This is a normal question. I'm just trying to figure out how to help people where the money's going to the right place and not just out.
And the employee don't make it.
No, 7. I mean, so that's my point is,
But it's all going to the employee, or is it being held in?
we don't have to go, I can answer all that on it, but the point is, and I'm speaking in general terms, I think the board is with me that we want it to go to the right place, and it does not look good for township government when people see that. And so, if there's any help that you can provide, or best practice on this to Terry, and then maybe they can present to the board, I'm all ears. You know?
Well, and
Mr. Pletty's up there.
You know, everybody's talking about 80% or whatever doesn't go to administration. It'd be really interesting to see what the township administration costs are versus the state and counties and the national level administration costs and what they actually hand out. We're probably doing better than they are. You know, look at most of your contributions that go to certain charities and that. 90% of their money goes to, 93% of their money goes to administration.
I would give to that charity.
There's very few that don't.
Oh,
I mean, like American Warriors, or Wounded Warriors, they got in trouble for like giving out, having like 60%. I thought that's.
There's a whole bunch of them out there that well above the 90s. And you know, so you know, what you might be looking at is we may be better than most of these big other operators. And you got a small group, you just pointed out, we've got to go through the same, just like us, we've got to go through the same rigmarole on every parcel, no matter how big or small it is. The bigger ones take longer to get. But one house, whether it's a little 500 square foot house or it's a 5,000 square foot house, it takes about the same amount of time. So your administration costs are very high. Those kinds of things.
And I through studies, and Jerry probably read the same thing through the years, and other organizations, not just government, but other organizations, like you mentioned, usually administrative costs are the highest part of your budget. I don't know that there's a way you can get around that in any way, but I think the point I was trying to make in terms of general, it's an unknown. And you don't know every year. I mean, sure, maybe you have a staff person that's going to be a social worker, caseworker, whatever you call it, to administer that program along with the supervisor. But you know, you don't know today if you're going to have 100 people come in or you're going to have 10 people come in. It's an unknown when it comes to that, and that I don't know how you can get around that.
Do you agree or disagree with that it's kind of doesn't look good?
Well, obviously, as we just said, those numbers, it sounds like, oh yeah, that's out of line. But there again, it's an unknown. And I think as we just all heard, everybody has said, any organization, be it government or private, you know, most of the time the administrative cost is more. But you don't know what's going to happen in terms of general assistance. I don't know down here if you have, what type of caseload do you have, Terry?
Are those not like it used to be because of the rules that got dropped down a few years ago? And some of these laws weren't here yet. That happened. Go ahead.
I just said, what type of caseload do you have in general assistance?
Right now, general assistance has like 3 full-time posts.
No, I mean people on applications.
Okay, applications daily, we take at least 2 to 3 applications daily. Usually, there's about 50 by the time we get done with everything. They're not all approved. And most of them are a lot of them are emergency assistance. So that's the one-time thing. It's not like a continual monthly thing.
Well, and that's something I didn't touch on, which is a good thing, is emergency assistance. And that is an opportunity, I think, for townships, if you have the ability to do that, to provide maybe, you know, I remember when I was a supervisor and I had a person in the township and their house burned, and they just needed a shot to get back on their feet, and they would provide them some assistance to do that. So I think that having an emergency assistance program is great.
You're right. Emergency is one of the biggest things.
Sure.
In household.
One of the things that needs to remember too is, although this current fiscal year may have those numbers, general assistance is a mandated function of township government. I've seen townships have to borrow money to meet the GA need. So what Brian is, to echo what he said, you could have something could happen in this area where you could triple the number of applicants. And so it runs from one fiscal year to the next. I always say in government, you have kind of three circles: where you were, where you are, and where you need to be. And so to focus on the 80% now, it could be much different in the next year over the need, because you have a certain amount in GA. And there is, if your question is it legal to pay administrative fees out of those funds? The answer is yes.
Well, yeah, no, I know that. I mean, I'm just trying to, and I guess everybody's in disagreement with me, and that's fine, but I just see it as a problem that 80% of the money, I'm trying to help townships. I don't know how many times I have to say that. It looks bad. We got to figure it out.
But you have to also remember that, and the process to award that GA is a defined process, and there's an application. I mean, there are townships that spend a lot of money per application. So I mean, you have to remember that although the administrative costs may be, in your mind larger, the process is very complicated.
And each process at each township is the exact same, correct?
Well, they have to have, I'm not going to say it's exactly the same, but it has to be written.
So my point is when I check in with Edwardsville and Madison and all these other places, so you're saying that they have to spend, all those are going to have that same thing on that administrative cost, that one salary? That's my point.
Some of them, they may pay someone to help them, some may not.
That's my point.
And it depends. Each in the township is different.
You see what I'm saying? That's my
Well,
point.
they pay another township there. We had a couple townships approach us about doing the GA, but
It's a small
they do not
township,
have the
right.
manpower, and
Right.
it's rural township.
My township is very small.
Right.
They haven't had a GA claim. They haven't had a township. They haven't had a GA claim in 25 years. But here, the unique thing about this situation, this question is, you have a number of people coming through the door. Rockford Township, I mean, they cost us $100 a day.
They have over 400 a month.
I mean, their surplus, not surplus, but their budget's over $1 million. And every township is unique based upon the population, based upon the budget. We've had some townships that have really got into some financial issues with not having enough to meet the GA needs.
And one thing I would point out too, up until the last few years when all this came about from the federal government with the Affordable Care Act, every township was responsible, and still is to a certain extent. If you have someone on your rolls as a general assistance client, you're responsible for their medical. Absolutely. And if they have a cancer issue and they have to be in the hospital, the township would be on responsibility for them. But with the Affordable Care Act, some of that burden has been released a little bit, but there's still an opportunity there for townships to have and be, I don't like these words, stuck with their medical costs.
Dan, yes.
But I guess the last 2 or 3 years, our economy's been better, so we may not have as many claims because people are able to work. The people that we're helping are the people in dire need, and the people that are just living, lost their job, falling on hard times. So I guess our figures that regardless, if you have to screen everybody the same, you have to have that process right. Whether we do it or somebody else does it, it's still going to cost us money. Because no one's going to do it for free. We're here 40 hours a week,
You
right?
have to be certified. I mean, you have to go to classes to learn all the rules and regulations. There's a lot of HIPAA, Privacy Act, there's a lot of things like that.
Thank you.
That's what I always say.
Another question I had was, in some of these accounts, like our insurance fund that are restricted funds, we can only use for insurance. We are over the amount allowed by, I guess, Illinois state law, but it's the law that states the 2.5 years. And so, we have lowered our levies in some of these, but on our recent balance sheets, it really hasn't helped much. It's still, sometimes we're 8 years over. I'm just trying to figure out what you say about that.
Well, I would definitely take a hard look at those figures, especially the insurance. Cut that levy if you have to for that again. You're fortunate if you're able to have a surplus like that, but you're not a bank either.
Right.
And you're here to do the best you can for the taxpayer. This law that you're referencing here is fairly new. However, it is and isn't new. It's been case law for many years. It was statute that was enacted last year, codifying case law.
It used to be 2.8%. Right?
No, it's always been 2 to 2.5 times your average annual expenditure.
Right. And so anyway, and that's before our new attorney got on. The old one said that, and we should do something about this. I don't know if he said that. I said that. But the point was, one way was, and I know some townships, just giving the money back to the taxpayer. So then, moving forward, you can be on just for a 2-year surplus, not all of it back. You get a 2-year surplus. And that's what I was motioning for. And so that's been some contention. And since you were here, I was trying to see what you guys...
I would recommend, especially when you're getting ready to do your levy, is that you sit down and take a hard look at these balances. I would caution you, insurance is probably a little more predictable, so that one would be easier. You have to be careful in terms of the criminal system.
Right.
Of course, the highway commissioner has certain obligations when it comes to the road district, and he has to levy at certain rates to be eligible for certain things.
And see, that was my point was because we've lowered our general assistance now to, I think it was like $30,000 last year. The point is now we're going to be in a spot where we're going to have to raise that at some point. And that's not, anytime your whole budget goes over 5%, you got to take it to the voters. I thought it would be easier. I thought it would, the whole budget, the whole levy. My point is, I thought it would be easier if they were doing it free, send it back, and then not even lower the levy, keep the levy the same, moving forward. But now we're in a spot where we're only bringing in $30,000, and what do we do moving forward?
Well, there is an opportunity there if you felt like you could cut that levy more. The law is very clear, and it says that if any time during the year that the general assistance fund needs more money, the board can transfer money from the town fund to into.
And then I guess the only other thing is, actually we were just talking about it before you guys came in, but I guess you would encourage like intergovernmental agreements. I'm always just trying to figure out ways that we can better help, because in this township, I don't know the exact number, it's around 90% of the people in the township are actually in the city limits of Maryville and Collinsville. So I'm always trying to figure out ways that we can better help folks in city limits. And Collinsville, and I talked to you a year ago about this, they don't do the limb pickup anymore, and so then I went up there and talked to them, and they said, yeah, we'd be fine if the township came in once a year and, and picked up the limbs. But again, I don't know the rules.
Well, you mentioned intergovernmental agreements, and that's a perfect example right there. You can practically do anything with an intergovernmental agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And if your highway commissioner for the road district and the city wish to go into an intergovernmental agreement to do some sort of service like that, hey, that's great. And it can be done. Pardon me?
6 intergovernmental, right?
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Many of them have picked up. We do a lot of courses on intergovernmental agreements now because townships are suffering financially, and it's a way to get more things done to meet the needs of the community by joining forces together. And I think what we promote is that those agreements are very specific, that they have a end time period, and that they are examined at least once a year. That you kind of keep them contained within the 4-year term. What if somebody new gets elected and they don't like what the other highway commissioner in place, they have to run. That they are very unique, but they're government even better because they get more done with contributing resources.
As long as it's not just taking advantage.
Right. That's why the agreement. That's why I always say.
Right. I know where you're coming from. Yeah.
You have to be as specific as you can because that is the governing doctrine. And it can't be with government services.
I'm just trying to come up with ways that we could better help that 90% that they question. It's not just here; it happens everywhere. But why do we have township government? I'm paying and I'm not getting. We have a great road department. Everybody loves the road department. So if once a year we could ever figure out a way, and so we'll have to figure out financially how that works.
But I think that would be something that would have to be initiated by the township board. The township board does not have the authority to kind of initiate that agreement. That would be something that
You can suggest.
Right. So,
You can do about anything in a governmental agreement. And I think that's a great thing. If I don't know, the city has projects and programs you could be involved with. That's
well, it's just a good because they're. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, but it's
Parks Department. Started Parks Department. We're probably going to partner with them about sharing the senior center. We're going to probably end up in agreement. Work together on that.
When we get along to wholesale.
Thank you.
We even got part of Glen Carbon, part of. Yeah.
I got a quick question. Sure. Meeting things. Does a great job. There's sometimes some discrepancies on what has to be in there, what has. Obviously you can't do word for word.
right. I've never seen minutes that your township has, but basically the clerk has to put who's here, who's absent, and any motion that's made and the vote taken. And what else they put in is at their discretion, but that's all that's required. Sometimes you want to be a little more specific, if there's been some general discussion, but a lot of times people just talk and you don't want to put a page of just somebody talking.
Could you ever have like where you say just refer to the video like as the minutes, or are you required to actually have minutes?
No, you're required to have minutes.
not written on the back of the envelope if you didn't. Yeah, you need a book. I've seen them on the envelope, 3 whole bunch of business book. No, it needs to be a piece of paper.
That'd be the real deal.
Something that
I've seen it.
occurred to me hearing all of you talk. You do have a website because I looked at that. Do you have a newsletter? Like, is it just for senior or is it township?
We tried to add a little bit to it, but most of it is years and adult construction.
I think that's an opportunity if you're looking for ways to spread the word more about what the township does, general township newsletter.
This may be a question I just had written down. Because I've always just wondered, can the supervisor second a motion?
Absolutely. The supervisor is a voting member of the board, and he or she can make motions, second them.
Okay.
And
Well,
vote.
I didn't know that. I never heard you second.
He should be voting in every matter.
That'd be nice. Is that the same way in every family?
No.
Yeah, I thought it was different. Right. That's why I asked.
Another question.
Do you encourage us to look at bills?
Oh, yeah.
That's your biggest step.
Read the manual. I think you'll find that helpful. I'll get you some more copies sent down to that trustee.
When they were elected, I had one for everybody. I don't know what happened.
This one?
I got the orange.
Yes. And
I got the orange. I don't want to this one. I got the orange.
Well, now you have to remember that there's guidelines, but you have to do what works for your township. what we promote and what we educate is kind of like the framework, like with the bills, I talked about different even the bills. That's one of the main goals or main duties of a trustee is on the board is kind of make sure that the bills are justified down to expense, that it's coming out of the right line item, and that it's processed. I've seen everything from pre-part carbon, press cards to sign, fancy Excel spreadsheets. Some townships sign the actual power bill, the actual bill. I used to make fun of pre-part carbon about the thing at the courthouse last weekend. All the computers shut down and they were scurrying trying to find the pre-part carbon paper. But you have to do what works, and if a trustee needs to ask a question or become more familiar with what the bill is, the expense, they have a right to do that. If it's a bill from the highway department that falls within those three parameters of a justified expense, line item, once that budget's approved, it's kind of on the auspices of the highway department through the supervisor as treasurer of the road district. But you have to do what works with all these processes best for all of you around the table.
Now I will add something new that's going to be coming into effect. They're probably in the first year that they get signed.
Probably January.
There's been in the General Assembly a lot of legislators who have been putting forth anti or negative township legislation. So this year, one thing that we thought we would do, and all of you probably, this is probably no secret to anyone, you probably all read about the debacle they had in East St. Louis Township a year or so ago, with misuse of funds and so forth. Yeah. So what we did, trying to be a little proactive and saying, here, we're going to be out here, we're going to encourage transparency, starting when the governor, there was a bill, Senate Bill 2093, I believe was the number, and basically what it says is that after it's approved, which will probably be the first of the year, that every check the supervisor writes, the clerk is going to have to attest to his or her signature, sign off on it. Now, the clerk's not going to be able to write checks. That's our biggest learning curve there. That you're not a second signature. You're not writing checks. You're just attesting to the supervisor's signature to make sure that he or she's the one that actually signed it. Because you have an East St. Louis, these types of things don't happen. No. The clerk's not going to have to be fined because she is not going to be handling money or anything. She's just going to be certifying that Bones Allen signed this check.
So she has to sign every check or just a piece of paper?
No, every check.
Make sure Bones did it right.
Or usually always together with the signing section.
Right.
I do have one thing you mentioned that is a major problem, I think, of the school, and that is Robert's rules. If you watch any of our videos, any meeting, everybody's talking.
You have courses on that.
Well, that, of course, that is something that this board would have to determine if you want to adopt Robert's Rules of Order. You don't have to.
You already have.
But if you want to, you do. I don't see a gavel in Terry's hand, but he can bang the gavel, and there are ways you can.
A lot of times I am polite to liberal, but then
It's an adopted.
it's township meeting.
Right.
So we have a couple PowerPoint presentations and things in our download center. We always try to include a meeting procedures course at the fall conference in November in Springfield. I think I've had repertoire. We've done a lot of webinars because that's our new reach out tool. We may do another one next year. Now that you've said it, I'll maybe try to do another one on Robert's Rules for $25. You can take a lunch hour and listen.
Galen, I have to tell you a funny story. This is actually a true story. Back in 1989, I was in the position Jerry had, and this lady called me right before the township election. She said, I'm running, we've got a group of women, and we're running because the supervisor is a male chauvinist pig. He's terrible, he treats everybody terrible, and we want to run and take over township and make it run right. Okay. So she had some questions, and she said, I'll let you know how the election goes. The election happens, she calls back after election, she goes, this is great. She goes, we all won the election. There's 4 women. We're all going to be trustees, but we didn't beat the supervisor. The supervisor's still there, but we're going to give it to him because we have more votes than he does, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So she had some questions, and she said, we're going to have our first meeting and everything. I said, well, let me know how it goes. Okay. A couple days go by, and she calls back. She said, well, we had our first meeting. I said, well, how'd it go? She goes, it's terrible. And I said, well, what happened? She goes, well, we all got there and we're ready, 4 women at the table, and we're ready to really get the supervisor. The supervisor walks in, opens his briefcase out, takes out his pistol, and puts it right on the table. She said, we were scared to do anything.
Oh my God.
Wow.
True story.
Wow.
True story. Or yours.
Yeah.
I don't have the
Keeps it in.
It is
I see
good.
myself in a team.
It is good when you can work together, and obviously there's going to be times you're not always going to agree with everything, but that's what the country's all about. We have different make things work.
Keep doing this.
No.
Good.
Thank you guys for the information.
And we've been very lucky. People that ladies have a lot of credentials, been with us for years, and married. All 3 of us get along real well, and then we got a new lady right there. Stand up, young lady. Tell who you are.
I'm in Salzman, and I just started at the end of May.
And you came from,
Senior Services Plus Health Center.
and she's been a really good talk to us. We want to thank her very much. We feel like we got a good team, and all our staff, everybody's here. This is wonderful.
Well, as Brian said, we work for you guys, so if you ever have a question, we try to put things in print, but, we can't make sure everybody reads it all. But if you ever have a question, we're an email and phone call away. We take phone calls and emails all day long. That's part of our job.
I don't have one call, dude.
We can make copies for you, whoever. Okay. Thank you.
You do take the time to.
That's unbelievable when you guys come down here. We sure thank you very, very much. Sure. Does anybody else have anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, your second. Motion, second. All in favor? Opposed?
Good to see you.
Sun's coming up.
Thank you. Absolutely. Call anytime. I shall drive down here.
Yeah.
All right, you guys put them back.